must say I absolutely love quick and easy projects like these, not just because they're quick and easy, I mean everybody loves that, right? But also because these are really great ideas for gifts if you're a gifter. If you are looking to start a little side hustle and you want to sew and sell, these could be really great ideas to fill up your inventory. And number 3 is that it's a secret agenda for me to use up my fabric scraps because I sew a ton and I always have a ton of fabric scraps no matter how much I try to avoid having them. So this is a really great way how to make something useful out of what I already have on hand. This video has been kindly sponsored by Skillshare. A little bit more about them a little bit later in the video, but right now let's get started with the first project. Now, first project on our list is going to be beyond quick, beyond easy, and beyond simple. However, very useful, and actually one of the relatives asked me about it, so that's how I know it's going to be big in the future, and it's already big. People are moving towards more sustainable ways of using stuff over and over again, and today we're making substitute to paper towels. So these are going to be little towels consisting out of one side of toweling. So this is the stuff that towels are made from. So if you have some older towels that you can't really throw out just yet, but you know they could be useful in some other way, this could be a really great way. And the other side is going to be cotton. So cotton and toweling. We are going to cut it to about 12.5 inches long, or about 12.5 inches long, and about 7 inches wide, and that is going to be already with 1/4 inch seam allowances. So that is actually going to be just about the size of a regular paper towel, and the reason why I'm going for that size is because that size is actually quite convenient. So you know, it fits, it covers quite a lot of surface, so this would be a really good size. You're gonna place them right sides together, you're gonna pin them or clip them. As you have pinned or clipped everything together, make sure that you leave an opening about 4 inches wide on one of the sides. We will need this opening in order to turn our towel right side out. And then we're gonna start sewing. Now I'm going to start by using serger. However, you can use a straight stitch on a sewing machine without a problem at all. It's just a little bit more convenient for me to use serger, but you can complete it all on a sewing machine. In fact, the next step is going to be on a sewing machine, so please do not worry. So let's go ahead and serge it all the way around, or sew it all the way around, leaving that opening that I just spoke about. I'm also rounding the corners as I sew because I think that round the corners just look a little bit cuter. Once all of these have been completed, all we have to do is turn these right side out. So go ahead and turn these right side out through that little opening that we left unsewn. And once you have turned them out, make sure that you really roll out the little corners. And then I like to give them a really good press, and then we're ready to move on to the last and final step. As I'm pressing these, I am folding in that little opening that we left unsewn and pressing it down as well. So that way when we sew these down with a straight stitch, I don't have to use pen needles and everything goes even faster. Now take your project, and with about 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric, we're gonna stitch all the way around with a straight stitch. We're gonna start with the back stitch, we're gonna end with the back stitch, closing this opening that we initially left unsewn. Now once the initial stitching around is done, what I like to do is I also like to do another stitching going from one corner to another, forming a cross in the middle. So that way these don't flop and don't separate in the middle, which kind of drives me crazy. So that's the reason why I like to do this one in the middle. And there you have it, these are done. Now the fabric on the outside, the cotton, is gonna tell me that these are for kitchen only because I have a toddler, so a visual representation makes a lot of sense in my case. The cotton on the outside is really great for any glass surfaces. We have quite a bit of those in the house. The towel side is really great for wiping up the spills. The cute design hopefully will encourage my toddler to use these instead of wiping stuff with her t-shirt or mopping spills with a sock. So I truly hope that this will be a useful idea in your house as well. Half of these are going to be for me and half of these are going to be for a special relative of mine. For this next project, you're gonna need just a couple of things. You will need a piece of elastic. You actually don't need it that long. You need it just about the width of your wrist, a little bit smaller than that. And then you will also need a zipper, just any small zipper will do, and a piece of fabric. It can be stretch, it can be without stretch, just a small piece of fabric. I'm gonna tell you dimensions here in just about a second. Now this is going to be a really great stocking stuffer in the future and a really great accessory for those who have active lifestyle, or maybe you travel a lot during summertime. This is going to be really great. And of course after that you can jazz it up as much as you want. So right now I did cut it down to about 6 inches by 6 inches. And our elastic, I'm going to cut it down to about 5 inches. Obviously if you have larger wrists you will need to adjust accordingly, but you can make the first one and after that you can see how it works for you. Then we're gonna take our zipper, and this is what we're going to do next. On our zipper, I'm gonna go ahead and use a pencil. I'm going to go ahead and mark the width of our square. So I'm gonna place the zipper right against my square, and I'm going to mark the width of it on one side and the width of it on the other side as well. Now go ahead and grab the zipper, open this up like so. Now go ahead and grab your piece of fabric, and this is what we're going to do. With the zipper teeth facing to the middle and the zipper facing up, so it's facing us, go ahead and grab your piece of fabric and align it with the right side down onto one piece right over here, and go ahead and pin it together. And you want to align it with one of the marks that we just made and with the other mark as well. So we are pinning it together to the zipper like so. Now we're going to repeat exactly the same thing with the other side. So with this side being attached, you're still going to place this piece of fabric between the two marks that we just made, and we're going to go ahead and pin it together as well. Alright, this is what you should have, and I know right now it seems strange, but give it just a couple of moments and you will see how it's going to turn out. Now this is my project, the one that we just pinned together, and I've also changed the presser foot of my sewing machine for the zipper foot, and now we're going to attach the zipper. So just like we've pinned the fabric to the zipper, we just want to go ahead and with a straight stitch attach it. Completed one side, go ahead and repeat exactly the same thing on the other side as well, and as a result you should have something like this. So you see a zipper on one side, on the other side fabric in the middle, and now what you want to do is go ahead and pull the zipper tab to the middle of our project, approximately to the middle. There we go. And now let's go ahead and grab the elastic. Now I have marked the middle of my elastic. Now what we want to do is we want to insert elastic right over here, and we're gonna catch it on the other side of our project right over here. There we go. Now go ahead and align the zipper with the middle of elastic like we have marked. There we go. And now we have a sandwich. We want to make sure that the sandwich is even on both sides. So this side is even to this side. There we go. Let's go ahead and snip this part of the zipper because we're not gonna need it anymore. We want to take this tab and we're gonna flip it like so to the back, and we're gonna take this tab and we're gonna flip it to the back as well. There we go. And they meet in the middle perfectly. Now we want to grab a couple of pins and we're gonna pin it all in place. There we go. And now we want to take it to the sewing machine and we're gonna stitch right across a couple of times so that way it really secures everything in place. Now that this is done, this is what we're going to do next. Go ahead and pull the elastic, and before we do that, if you would like to, you can also finish this part with a bias tape or a serger or a zigzag just to prevent fraying of the elastic and fraying of the fabric as well as the zipper fabric as well. So let's go ahead and pull this out. There we go. So one side is ready. All right, now we need to determine if this elastic is a little bit too long or if this will be just good. So let's go ahead and place it around my wrist, And yes, this elastic definitely is going to be a little bit too long. So as the final verdict, I decided that I will cut this elastic 1 inch shorter, and then I'm going to cut the pouch about 1/2 inch shorter. There we go. And now we're going to repeat exactly the same thing as we did on the other side. So let's go ahead and mark the center of our elastic. There we go. And now the only difference is that we can't close this zipper. Otherwise, we won't have any chance for turning this right side out. So now let's go ahead and do this. There we go. So now the elastic is inside. And now we're going to place this zipper onto that half mark on the elastic and the other side of the zipper. And my suggestion would be to pin them together right over here, so that way they stay nice and intact. There we go. We've pinned them together, and we're going to repeat exactly the same folding maneuver as we did on this side. So we fold them like so, each side is even, then we fold over this flap, we fold over this flap. We're gonna go ahead and pin it all together, and then we're gonna sew with a straight stitch a couple of times over here, and then we're gonna turn it right side out. Once that is done, you're gonna have something like this. Then go ahead and pull on the elastic, and that's it. Was that easy, or was that easy? There we go. Close the zipper. Pop it on your wrist, and your really cool and convenient wrist purse is done and ready. Of course, instead of this regular white elastic, you can jazz it up and you can order some elastic from a fabric shop that is of different colors, or even with glitter, or even with stripes or some sort of other geometric stuff on it. So you definitely can play around with this. I just didn't have anything else. So, but yeah, you can use little fabric scraps, and look how cute it is. This could be perfect for a variety of different uses. So I truly hope that you enjoy this idea. All right, now this one is done. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other idea. Now this next idea, you have probably seen it from my winter and holiday edition of the same style of video where we're talking about stocking stuffers, and this one is actually no sew. So this is just a fold over elastic that is tied at the end, and these are hair ties. These were really popular, and I made quite a few for gifts, and I only have a couple of them left. However, I wanted to touch on this subject because I got a lot of questions about this. You guys were asking, how did I do this little cardstock insert on which these ties are placed? And this is just a rectangle with little cutouts at the sides. Extra tip, if you double layer your cardstock, it will hold a little bit better. So definitely take note of these fold over elastics. You can buy on Amazon, you can buy at Walmart, you can buy different types, different colors, and you can really jazz it up, play around, and it comes out as a really beautiful gift or something that you can sell. Speaking of making items and selling items, while I cannot give you any concrete suggestions because this is not my area of expertise and I cannot give you any advice on that subject, but I would like to remind you and kind of set you on a path that if you are sewing something and selling something, double check the laws of your country, double check if you need to apply for any business licenses, if you need to apply for any certain certificates, if you need to verify the product you're selling, if you need to purchase any sort of specific labels for the types of things that you're making and selling. So definitely make sure that you do your research before you start sewing and selling the things that you make. Now, I also get asked a ton about branding and how to do all that stuff if you're going in sewing and selling direction, and even if you're just making handmade gifts and you want them to be packaged in a pretty way, because presentation really matters, let's just face that. And while again, this is not my area of expertise, I really have a resource that I think will save the day, and I really want you to check out Skillshare. And if you are familiar with my channel, then you know that I've been partnering with Skillshare for quite some time, and I've been using it for quite some time, even before we started working together. So I really think that this is a valuable resource. And I'm actually taking a class right now as we speak from Mackie Saturday about creating your own personal brand logo. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the logo that I've created for my channel was quite some time and it's quite old. So I really want something that would be more reflective of what we're doing here. And of course, not everybody wants to do branding and not everybody wants to sew and sell the handmade stuff. So if you're not familiar, Skillshare is actually an online learning community with a lot, like thousands of inspiring classes for anybody really who loves to learn and who wants to explore their creativity and try a new skill or really dive deeper into the skill that you're currently learning. So you will find classes like photography and graphic design, and that's all good, but I think for our community, classes like embroidery and sewing and some other creativity classes are really the biggest value. I must say that I really like Skillshare because I like to stay focused and organized. So Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone in what you're doing without being interrupted. And most of the classes are also very well structured, and a lot of them also have some homework that you can do after you take the class to really kind of solidify the knowledge that you just got. And also new premium classes launch every week, so there's always something new for you to try and discover. Now for me, this logotype design class that I'm currently taking, I truly hope that it will provide me the information that I couldn't find anywhere else, and that sometime soon you will see a new branding element on this channel. But for you guys, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the info box below will get 1 month free trial of Skillshare, so that way you can dip your toes, take a look, and find some new creative stuff or dive deeper into what you already currently learning, like sewing. So definitely take a look. This next project is something that we're going to be making for my friend. Now, I made one for her approximately, I would say 4 years ago. That was before I had my toddler, so about 4 years ago. And she absolutely loved it. So it's been a while. The fabric kind of started to show some wear and tear, so I would like to make a new one for her. And she absolutely loves this particular design, so that's what we're going for. You will need just 2 pieces of fabric cut in an oval shape. The longest part from top to bottom measures about 9 inches in my case, and the widest part right over here measures just about 7 inches. So you will need one for the inside, one for the outside. We will also need wide bias tape. So you see this bias tape is quite wide, and we will need enough to go all the way around this oval. And then you will also need a zipper. The zipper length should be enough to go from this middle point all the way around and stop at this middle point. So mine, there we go. I have already marked the center of my oval, so that way it's a little bit easier for us to work with it. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take these pieces of fabric. We're going to place them wrong sides together, like so. And if you'd like, you can place a couple of pins right in the middle, so that way the fabric doesn't shift. Now take your project, place it with the lining up, and take your bias tape. We're going to attach your bias tape to the lining first. And right here, starting in the middle, just a little bit past it. So a little bit past that center point. Let's go ahead and mark it with a pin so that way you can see a little bit better. So this is the center point, and we want to place our bias tape a little bit below that. There we go. And what we want to do is first we want to go ahead and pin it into that little crease. There we go. And then we actually want to fold this in like so. There we go. And now we want to place that bias tape all the way around this piece of fabric. Once your bias tape has reached the other side of bias tape, make sure that they overlap by a little bit, and then just snap the corners so that way it's a little bit easier for us to overlap them. There we go. And now go ahead and pin it so that way they overlap. And let's go make our way to the sewing machine, and then we're gonna stitch it right into this crease of bias tape. Here's our project. This is the overlap. I'm going to separate the overlap one from another, and then we're going to start stitching. Once you're coming up and finishing the oval, just go ahead and place the overlap back how it was, and let's go ahead and stitch over it, and then don't forget to backstitch as well to secure your seam. Once this is all done, the bias tape looks like so when it is attached to the lining. From the right side, let's go ahead and tidy up some of the uneven seam allowances because fabric shifted a little bit in my case as I was sewing. And after that, we're going to wrap this bias tape around. Alright, now that that is done, what we're going to do is we're going to take this bias tape and we're going to fold it over to the right side of our project like so. Then we're going to press it down with our fingers, and now we're going to stitch right over here all the way around, securing this bias tape to the right side of the fabric. And the spot where we had two pieces overlap, you're going to do exactly the same. There we go. So that way you don't see any raw edges. Once that is done, snip any loose threads that you have. Just make sure that you secure them before you do so. There we go. Fold it in half, and look at that. Now it looks like a little taco shell. Go ahead and mark the middle with pin needles, or maybe heat erasable marker if you have some. There we go. Open up the zipper teeth. Now we want to take one of the sides and align it with the middle. There we go, like so. And we want to start pinning. Now we want to make our way to the sewing machine, and we don't want to stitch right there on the very edge of the bias tape because that's going to be a little bit too close to the zipper. But we want to stitch maybe 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch away, so that way you will have one row of stitches that is attaching the bias tape to the main fabric, and you will have another row of stitches that is going to be parallel to that, which is going to be attaching your zipper to your pouch. Now here I have actually switched to a 1/4 inch presser foot. This is our project. This is the beginning. Let's go ahead and place it underneath, and all right, I'm gonna do a 1/4 of an inch away from the zipper right over here. And now with a straight stitch, we're gonna go ahead and stitch. Once this is done, it's going to look like so. There you see the parallel row of stitching that is attaching the zipper to the inside of our pouch. Now we want to take the zipper and we want to attach it to the other side. In the process of doing so, just make sure that you don't twist the zipper. So it's easier if you close it first and then you align it with the other side. There we go. And just put a little pin in there, just anywhere. We just want to make sure that we don't twist it. There we go. And now open the zipper like so. Place your pouch flat. And now go ahead and align the other side of the zipper at the center, just like we did with the other one. And go ahead and stitch it all the way around exactly the same way as we did this side. When you're pinning the other end where you have the zipper tab right over here, just make sure that you don't pin all the way shut like so. Leave a little space over there so that way you can pull the zipper tab through once we have completed our pouch. Alright, once you have attached both of the sides, go ahead and pull the zipper tab through. We're going to start with this corner first, so go ahead and close your zipper just by a tiny bit. Now, place your pouch flat like so. You want to make sure that the zipper is right in the middle between these two. And then just about, I would say, 1 inch from the corner over here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a straight stitch right across. If you're using metal zipper, be careful not to get the needle over those metal parts because then your needle is going to break. So polyester zipper can be usually just fine, but metal zipper and metal parts, definitely please make sure that you are very careful. Once both of the sides are done, what you can do is you can just either leave it as is and just fold it over and make sure that this is nice and neat and snip the excess, or you can snip it nicely in a straight line and then use a zigzag stitch or serger to make sure that you secure the fabric and all of the threads and the zipper tab. Or like I've done right over here, I actually use bias tape to wrap it around. So what I did was I went ahead and I snipped this part. And then just like we did bias tape on the outside of our pouch, you take a little piece of bias tape, you make sure that you turn in the corners on both sides, and then all you do is you just wrap around the opening right over here, and then you stitch over a couple of times so that way everything is nice, neat, and secured. Now once this is done, all we have to do is we have to turn it right side out, poke out the corners right over here, close the zipper, and there we go. We have this cute little pouch ready to go. So it actually stands on its own, and as you saw earlier, I didn't even use any interfacing, and I think my friend is going to love it, so I'm really happy that I made one for her. And you can play around with different bias tape, you can play around with different colors of the zipper. I mean, possibilities are endless. You can add a little tab over here to put it on the belt, or maybe attach it to a purse. So many really great ideas that you can come up with just with this very simple design. And I absolutely love the fact that all of the seams are actually enclosed and there's no raw edges. Now for this project, we're actually not going to be using any fabric, we're going to be using rope. And that's how you make these beautiful and sturdy little coasters for your kitchen or your house, for your friends, family, and as something that you can sell. And with exactly the same method, you can also make these rope baskets. Now I actually made these a couple years ago, and we use them around the house for a variety of different things. Now one of them is also in my art room where I use it for sewing notions. One is next to TV stand, and we'll use it to hold all of the remotes. So first, go ahead and grab your rope, and you want to start rolling it in like so. Imagine the shape of a snail. That's what you want to go for right over here. Now if you find it a little bit hard to hold it all together, what you can do is you can take a hand sewing needle and thread, and you can stitch it together so that way it can hold. Next step is for us to place it underneath the sewing machine presser foot and use a zigzag stitch, and start sewing with that zigzag stitch by rolling and feeding the thread onto the project. You're going to continue doing that over and over and over again until you reach the size of that you desire. Now for coaster, you only need about, I would say, 6 inches wide, maybe 7 inches wide, depending on how big of a coaster you want. Once you're ready, just go ahead, stop, backstitch, and snip off the thread, and that's how you make a coaster. Now you're going to get started on making the baskets exactly the same way. The only difference is that once you have created the bottom of the basket, you're gonna go ahead and tilt it upwards just like you see me do on a screen. And then you're gonna start rolling and stitching again. That is going to create the walls of the basket. Now at one point it will become a little bit challenging to do so because the walls are gonna get quite high, like you see right over here. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead, backstitch, snip off the cord, and my basket is done. Now these are little tabs that I cut from cork fabric that I had, and I'm going to use them in order to create little handles for my basket. I'm gonna use hot glue in order to attach these, and this is also a great way how to hide that little spot where we snipped off the cord. And that's it. Your beautiful baskets or your beautiful coasters are done. Now there you have it, 5 quick and easy projects that you can make in 10 minutes. Useful, great for sewing, selling, and great for gifting as well. If you want more videos about ideas like that, then go ahead and click on the video that you see on the screen, and I will see you very soon in another video.